reforms that have been put on the table. Again, he also raised one issue that may have been left out of the blocks that we speak to, and that is about parents and their personal interest in what happens. And so Africa Education Watch concluded that many of Ghanaian parents appear not to be concerned about things that affect their children directly. They sit on the fence and pretend to be worried until things get out of hand. And so today we are back again because many of the projections or the issues that Africa Education Watch raised, including what appears to be a sleeping teacher unions who only wake up when things have already happened, are things we are seeing this week. All the 4 major teacher unions are saying that they are not in agreement with government as far as the 2-semester system is concerned, and by extension, the new reforms that are being introduced. The Ghana Education Service has issued a statement, and in that statement, they are saying that, look, they have had some level of consultations. And if you read that statement that I'm sharing on the screen now, you would notice that they are also saying that in spite of the consultations that GES and government as a ministry in charge of that sector have had with the various stakeholders, there is still room for further consultations. And this is going to happen when the students are going to be back in their classrooms. The teachers are expected to be implementing a curricula or a new schedule under new reforms, and at the same time be complaining and be sitting down with government to see reforms. Parents have been calling to find out what really is happening. And so today, I'm going to have this conversation with a parent. It's not an ordinary parent. He's the administrator at the National Council of PTAs. They're in charge of all the parent-teacher associations in this country. He's called Charles. I'll mention the other name shortly. And again, on this program, we'll be speaking to another Charles. He has been a former deputy director of the Ghana Education Service. Today, he's with the Ghana National Coalition Campaign, Ghana National Education Campaign Coalition, GNECC. We'll be speaking to them. And my guest in the studio today is called Charles Ajete Sowa. He's the national chairman of the Ghana PTA Association, the council that is in charge of them. Sir, you are welcome.
Thank you.
I've been struggling with the Ghana National Education Campaign Coalition. Is that it?
Yes.
Right. But you are representing parents.
Yes.
You are welcome. This is TVXYZ, and thanks for joining us on Ideas Exchange.
Thank you for having me.
Good. Now, so as a parent, and of course, speaking to an association that has lived with us and been playing active role in the governance of our education sector, what critical observations have you made over the past few years, if not months?
Thank you very much. Like you said, the PTA has been in existence for some time now. And it actually had its national association at the APES as the umbrella body somewhere in 2013. That was when NAGRAT had issue with government in 2006, 2007 there, and the Greater Accra PTA formed a coalition with the Volta region, and then they were able to, resolve the issue between government and NAGRAT. And as a result, they found it necessary and important to come together at the national level, and that is why we have the National Council of Parent-Teacher Association today. Now, over the years, as you said, PTAs have made it their objective to seek the welfare of the children that they send to school, in a way complementing what government is able to do at the school level. Because we all know that resources are not all that unlimited. So parents think that somehow they can also help So when you go to the schools, at the school-based level, you realize that parents have been able to put up classroom blocks, dormitories, and they even give incentives to teachers and the rest, all to help to make the environment for learning very enjoyable at the school level. However, recently, when the free SHS came, the channel of PTA, resources, somehow was truncated because it is free. If it is free, then to some people, what are you levying parents to do? Because it is free. Government is providing free education. But if you look at it on a broader view, you realize that it is not because it is free. That is why parents ought to fold their hands and cross their legs and see what government will do. If we do that, then we will not be good citizens. So we think that we should go ahead and do what we're doing before, rather and even expand it to levels that will let parents be aware of the fact that the cradle of development of every nation is education. And if you send your child to any educational institution, you need to help that child and the instructors, those who are in charge of managing the child's education, to be able to bring out a child that will be fit for societal development. And that is why parents have put themselves together at the school-based level, at the regional level, and the national level.
Now, we'll walk further into the roles that you play, but if you look at education generally, we have 4 key players if you want to look at the involvement. So you have the policy formulators, and that will represent the executive. Then you have those who implement, and of course also see to the day-to-day administration. So I'll lump the school administrators and the teachers together under one umbrella. Then we have the agencies that facilitate all processes and supervise the implementation. And so you bring all the statutory bodies, GES, look at NACA and so on, who also come in. And then you have parents as another group that must also be seen to be playing active role. So the days that we used to pay school fees, you will see these parents contributing their quota to ensure that the school systems operate efficiently. Now, if you look at parents generally, and you look at education policy formulation, how do you come in?
Okay, thank you very much. Parents, like you said rightly, are somehow the very people who bring these children to, the schools. Even though they have, elected a government to see to the education of these children, yet parents are the ones who bring them to school. And so we have a key role. But it looks as if over the years, parents have not been involved so much at the policy-making level. One, because prior to 2013, we did not have an umbrella body that saw to the needs of these, and then let's say the problems, the challenges of these parents, individual parents at the school level. So, like I mentioned earlier, when all these came up, we realized that there was the need for us to come together and then form this umbrella body. Now that the umbrella body has been formed, we think that it is only needful and expedient that when policies are being developed, they are consulted. We have so many platforms. The PTA has got larger platforms that it is able to use to reach the larger...
The National Council of Parent-Teacher Associations. Now, I believe that your office receives all kinds of complaints in the name of concerns.
Yes.
Do they come from parents, or it is beyond what parents may come to you to talk about, and so you may hear CHAS as a body, individually or as a group, speaking to you to use your voice to speak out to government? What are some of the concerns or complaints you receive?
Well, Thank you very much. We receive a lot of complaints, and I must be frank with you that it is not only parents, teachers, and then the school managers, the heads. We receive such complaints that we think that we need to address, help address.
What kind of issues do they raise?
Issues like food, you know, the buffer stock, and sometimes the late, you know, coming of the supplies. We receive complaints about inadequate facilities at the school, such as classrooms. And when last year, for instance, when schools reopened for the first years, the enrollment was so high that students were queuing for washrooms, and such things were all, both parents and the managers were
so
able to
what
bring
makes
these
it
things
difficult, for example, for the Conference of Heads of Assisted Secondary Schools, who are living with the students, who are aware of the issues, who know very well that the PTA has virtually been crippled, but cannot speak to government and will still use the back door to complain to you?
Yes, they have to do that. You know that the managers of these, that the heads, CHAS, as you are mentioning, they are employees of, you know, government, the ministry, through GS. They are employees. So they have a limitation. You understand? I remember at the Elmina or so,
the conference,
they raised issues. And so many things came up after those issues were raised. And they became quiet. You understand? And so where else can they go? They think that we were the ones, parents were the ones who were helping them somehow to be able to take care of the very children of these parents. And that is why they are able to what? Some of them are able to what? To come to us.
Well, for those of you who have just joined us, the topic for discussion today is what we have put together as the education policy controversies, and we are hearing the take of parent-teacher associations. This evening, our guest is the administrator at the National Council of PTAs. He's speaking to us about the developing stories that we have been following, i.e. reforms. We are talking about a 2-semester systems. Stakeholders are kicking against it. The National Association of Teachers have also issued a fiat that government should withdraw it. Today, the Deputy Minister for Education said that it will never be withdrawn today nor tomorrow. It has come to stay, and the best they can do is to continue engaging the teachers and perhaps other stakeholders on how best they can make input or review the reforms that are being implemented. Now, last week we spoke to a stakeholder, that is Africa Education Watch. The Executive Secretary, Kofi Asare, tried to explain the level of consultation that in the statement that the ministry or the GES has issued, which suggests that government has been engaging people and has closed that chapter, but will only allow room for some additions. Let's hear how Mr. Asare put it.
Well, in the specific case of the proposed 6-year duration of second cycle education, in a meeting with the Deputy Minister in November, he intimated that the ministry was considering some reforms to strengthen the quality of junior high school education, and that when they have finished doing their internal consultation, they will have stakeholder discussions on the proposals. And so for now it remains a proposal that we shouldn't discuss in public until.
And so that is Kofi Asare, Africa Education Watch. And I'm sure you have found some flyers going around, and the Ghana Education Service has been signaling what government wants us to agree are new educational reforms that are being implemented. You see this playing on the screen while I read. And the summary of the new education reforms and the key decisions that have been taken. 1. Kindergarten, primary, GHS, and SHS shall be known as basic schools. 2. All students from GHS 1 to SHS 1 shall run a core program to be called CCP, that's Common Core Program, comprising of 9 subjects. So now they'll be doing maths, languages, science, RME, that will be a subject that will stand alone, physics, health education, and then a new form of examination to be called National Standardized Test or Assessment will be conducted for primaries 2, 4, 6, and GHS 2. And then, of course, SHS 1 students will write what they call a Common Core exams to pass them to SHS 2. Then at SHS 2, the students shall select career-related programs, which includes TVET or high diploma programs such as science, business, arts, and so on and so forth. And of course, WASI is going to replace university examinations. As a PTA, when these things hit you, how do you react?
Yes, their reforms are normally for the good of the people. But if you want to undertake any reform, we are in a democracy. So if we are in a democracy, then it is expedient that we participate and then come to a conclusion, a decision that will be satisfactory to everybody. However, we must also know that we have given a particular job to some people to do it. Now, if you look at the summary that you have read, and then I've also seen a few, you realize that they mean good. But when you get to the implementation, that is where the problem is. It is because the very stakeholders, were not engaged. You realize that the implementation becomes very difficult because they become unaware of it. Sometimes when they've even finished with whatever they have, releasing the result to the various stakeholders, they do it at the eve of the implementation, making it very difficult for people to even understand. If you do not understand something, how do you do the implementation? And how do you get the people along? So that's the problem.
That's a genuine concern. But some would say the National Council of PTAs has almost become a toothless bulldog, and so government doesn't care about the key inputs you can make, and you can only lament. Is that a reflection of what I am trying to describe?
No, not at all. Not at all. That is not a reflection of it. The point is that over the years, as I told you, 2013, that is where we came up as a body. And from there on up to 2017, where this free SHS started, we were operating very well.
So we know where the problem is. How do you expect government to bring on board the active participation by way of consultation, and how do you collate views that you can put before the table for discussion?
Thank you very much. Government can do so through the structures that we have, that is the National Council. It is very easy. The National Council has got leadership, and the leadership will, when they receive all these challenges that those at the base get, we try to streamline them and then put it on the table. But government has not been forthcoming in engaging us when such policies are being developed. And that is the problem.
So we'll be crossing over to speak to a former Deputy Director of Education, Charles Chega, who will be sharing with us what he has known about systems that GES, for example, as an agency under the ministry, play in terms of either policy formulation or implementing government directives. And of course, also looking at it from the other way as a retired personnel who is now observing from afar and playing the role of a parent. But we spoke to some Ghanaians on the streets of Accra. I want us to share with you what they have been saying.
Stakeholders to do everything. They can't just stand up and then make rules and regulations for the people without consulting them, knowing their problems and what will make them okay.
Parent myself, I'm even confused. I don't even know exactly what is going on because we don't know when students come home and we don't know when they go back to school. Or we are told that children will be vacating on so and so day. For you to be told again that, oh, this day will not come on, and another time is given. So as a parent, I'm not in support of what is going on at all because I think the government has to come again in terms of the way things are going now, considering the fact that even the teachers and the people who are stakeholders in education are not even in line with the whole thing.
If you compare to previously, I think now education system has been frustrated.
They are happy because they don't have any good babysitter at home. So the time the children spend with the teachers at school, it's okay for them. But that means if we have to keep the teachers too, then something must be done for the teachers to be happy to take care of our children for that long weeks. The government just can't sit down and decide for the teachers. They all have to come to the round table and decide. They can't just take the decision and push it to them. You are not on the ground. You have to come down to the grassroots, to those who are taking care of the children and decide with them.
And so those were the views of some parents on the streets of Accra. We have been joined by Charles Heto Chega, who is a former Deputy Director General of the Ghana Education Service and a very key prominent member of the Ghana National Education Campaign Coalition. Charles, good evening and thanks for making time with us on Ideas Exchange.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
We are so grateful and we are privileged because of the wealth of experience that you've had managing the Ghana Education Service and at the same time being or playing the role as with an advocacy group. When you sit back and you look at all the issues that are emerging as far as our education is concerned, we'll focus on the basic and then the secondary level. For you, as somebody with interest in the sector, what are some of the key concerns you have noted?
Well, the key concerns I've noted is the gradual attempt to literally emasculate the Ghana Education Service. There is an overt and unrestrained attempt by the Ministry of Education to take over the Ghana Education Service, a situation that has no basis at all anywhere in our legal structures. I remember when I was the Acting Director General, one Mr. Paul Osei-Mensah, looking at the way the Ghana Education Service was interacting with the ministry during the period of Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman, wrote an article in which he clearly, unequivocally stated that there is an attempt to undermine the Ghana Education Service by the Ministry of Education. In fact, when this matter came up at the GES Council meeting, everybody thought that, well, first people were saying that I was kind of doing this so that I can exert some authority and a whole lot of things. But what the ministry fails to appreciate is that the Ghana Education Service is a constitutionally mandated body, and that the Ministry of Education can never wish it away. But if they try and understand the relationship that the people who came up with the idea of the Ghana Education Service and the ministry, that whole vision, they will really know that working together brings a lot of profit. Currently, there is a conscious effort to overtake the Ghana Education Service, and the ministry give an impression that they are in charge. But the ministry job is not implementation.
Okay, Charles.
It is not implementation.
Yeah, Charles. we'll walk into the key issues because you have lived it all now as a retired officer working with an advocacy group, Ghana National Education Campaign Coalition. You can now highlight on the key things we must do right to ensure that we can guarantee a better education for our children and the future of this country. Now, for you, and of course, for GNECC, would you say that we can equally directly blame all those working at the GES today? Because for those who are there now, we know they have all the experience, they have had all the training, they appreciate all the principles, but they are sitting on the fence, and government, if it is not yesterday, today, is manipulating the process at the detriment of parents whose wards are the beneficiaries.
Yeah, you see, it's very interesting. You see, once you are young and you are appointed into the Ghana Education Service or into the public service, part of your whole focus and interest in life is to ensure that you continue to remain at post until you go out on retirement quietly. The evidence is that anybody who attempts to be assertive is removed. And that's just it. I mean, so if you want to continue to be where you are, just don't be assertive. Just allow the people who want the power to take it. And then so that you can continue to enjoy your salary, sit down, open your mouth and all of that. So that is where the challenge is. It's not their fault. They can't fight a monster that is actually attempting to grab them and eat them. All they have to do is just to keep quiet and watch. And that is the danger. Because what has happened today is that the Ghana Education Service has sat down and is watching the ministry doing all the fumbling along the line.
Okay, so Charles,
and that is where the challenge is.
Good. Stay on the line. Don't go, because in the studio with me is the administrator of the Ghana National Council of PTAs. Do you find this strange, or you knew it? And is there any way you could have played a balancing role to give some weight to support GES to do what it's mandated to do?
Yes, it is there. Just as he has said, it is clear that those at the helms of affairs are unable to do the right thing, what is the needful, because they are looking on their shoulders. But the point is that as PTAs, we have also knocked on their door severally so that we can collaborate effectively for the education of our children. And all these have fallen on deaf ears. We've written to them way back last year, and we have not had even our letters acknowledged. We made the follow-ups. So we are still waiting.
No, so you are still waiting, but let me go to Charles on the line. Charles, now the PTA appears to be facing difficulties because for them, they will make the move. But if the system doesn't accept the role they can also play, the input they can make to support government to run the systems that we have, then we are doomed. Do you share some same concern, or you think the PTA can do better than that?
Well, the PTA can do better than that. You see, the whole idea that brought up the PTA in 1987 was to ensure that parents had a critical role to play in the education of the children. And in fact, when you look at the whole historic evolution of formal education and the whole interaction and inclusion of parents, it is just to give parents the opportunity to engage the institutions that have now taken over their children and are giving them some type of education. So parents come and give certainty and assurance to what is being taught to their children. And that's why some parents can say, and I know some have said a lot of things about religious and moral, certain types of topics they don't want their children to learn, and a whole lot of things, and we've had time to help them to come to terms with those things. But that still doesn't take away their strong voice, which should enable them to make it very clear. Sometimes I get the impression that the parents themselves are also afraid, because there is a misconception of the PTA. And that misconception is that, in many of the schools, powerful parents have hijacked the PTA and are subjecting poor parents to a range of things, which is not true. Which is not true at all, which has never been true. But the whole point is that I know that there have been instances where PTAs have themselves tried to ensure that everybody contributes and have raised issues that no, we want everyone to contribute and a whole lot of things. But that is also something that the PTA must begin to appreciate, that all of them are not the same. And therefore, if there are contributions and some people cannot pay, their children should not suffer.
Okay, so Charles,
those are the kinds of
good. We will not let you go now because the person in the studio with us, the chairman of the Council of PTAs, would also want to speak to some of the concerns you have raised. But I want to ask you this direct question. Now that government wants to run a semester system, NAT says it is going to burden especially students at the basic level. The teacher unions say there was no consultation and so it must be withdrawn. The Deputy Education Minister today says emphatically that it will never be withdrawn, and whether teachers like it or not, it will be implemented. Do you foresee teachers just implementing it anyhow out of protest, or there's a way this can be better managed if you were to advise?
Well, of course, there's a way to better manage this thing. I mean, this brickmanship that is exhibited by the Deputy Minister is very unfortunate, to say the least, because I thought that being who he is, he would have been more sober in the way he looks at this. But it looks like increasingly we are facing a system which says that what we want to do, we will do, and we don't care what anybody says, which is very, very unfortunate. But there is a better way around this. If you go on the ground and you know what happens in schools on a daily basis, you will appreciate what they have said. In fact, I've said that as for the children, they won't have a challenge. Because in every school, after 12 o'clock in the afternoon, and especially after the children have been eating lunch, you cannot, and I want any teacher to tell me that I'm not right, you cannot bring them down to settle and teach them some of the hard concepts. Because at that time, the children are tired.
The brain is tired.
1:30, the children are tired. So you see that in many of the schools, 1:30 to 3 o'clock is used for a lot of other out-of-classroom activities and running around and jumping and the children doing their social relationships and going on. That will continue. But for me, I think that some of the people who are adversely affected by this arrangement, and they had the opportunity to discuss it, if you have a semester of four months, and you say that during the period of 4 months, you are giving teachers only a 6-day respite. You are just telling me that you don't even understand the work that teachers do. And you see, once the most dangerous individual you can have in an education system is a tired teacher. Once a teacher is tired, there is very little you can do to energize him. All he needs is a break.
Okay, so
and that is what
Charles Chagan is a former Deputy Director General of the GES. At a point, he was the Acting Director General of the GES. And so he's speaking from the perspective of somebody who understands teaching and learning methodologies, at the same time running day-to-day administration of various schools, and of course also at the level where they supervise implementation. Now, he raises key concerns. A tired teacher, a demotivated teacher is as dangerous as a snake waiting to pounce on its prey. And of course, which also reflects the fact that children may not get the best. Now, from where we are, and of course, as a council of PTAs, would you say that the reforms that are being pushed down your throat, because the teacher unions obviously say they have not been effectively consulted, and for 4 of them with the leadership sitting to speak to the issue means government's rhetoric that there was some level of consultation cannot be true. What are your fears today as we speak?
Well, our fears are that, one, teachers may decide to go to the classroom once the minister says that they are not going to withdraw it, which is quite unfortunate. Because if you are not going to withdraw it, yet you have called them to come and sit down and talk about what?
They are meeting tomorrow.
Yes, we are meeting tomorrow to talk about what and do what. You understand? So teachers may, at the end of the day, go into the classrooms. They may be forced to go to the classrooms, but they will do what they like. At the end of the day, it is the child and the parent who suffer. You understand? This same thing, this semester thing that they are talking about, he talked about 4 months. It's 5 months, actually, because it's about 20 weeks. So if you are having 20 weeks for a child in the basic, school, let's say class 2, class 3, as he's rightly said, at 12, 1 o'clock thereabout, and now they are starting somewhere 7 o'clock.
Are you suggesting that? And I'll take the same question to Mr. Chega before he takes leave of us. Are you suggesting that those in government or those running the education system don't care about the Ghanaian child?
Not that way. They care. They care about the Ghanaian child. But probably the bottom line is that they should consult. Let everybody come on board, those who matter in education, the stakeholders. Let us all agree on what we want to do. Then you can do the implementation. In that case, you have carried the people along. But in a situation where you bring whatever you have and people find loopholes thereabout, and then they decide, especially a major stakeholder like the NAT and the rest, stakeholders like NAT and the rest, the teacher unions, they are major stakeholders. And once they are stakeholders and they are not comfortable with the policy that you have brought, the policy implementation becomes very...
Would you be happy if NAT, NAGRAT, TEU, Concerned Teachers Association of Ghana decide that they are embarking on strike after tomorrow because government is refusing to listen to them and review or suspend this policy? Would you, as a parent or parent-teacher association, support them for a common purpose, i.e. ensure that consultation satisfies everything that must be considered?
I would not go for strike. I'm a parent and I want my child to be in school. So what I will appeal to the teachers to do is what is being done, that tomorrow they are going to meet. They should get to the table, talk, and then come to a conclusion. I'm sure that even though the deputy minister might have said so, he may have a change of mind when the teacher unions come with their reasons. Yes.
Now let me go to Mr. Chega. Mr. Chega, just 2 quick questions before you take leave of us. First one, if you were advising teacher unions, and for you as somebody who now would want to create the impression, and of course some of us would agree with you that GES is now appearing to be a body that is being manipulated, what would you recommend to the teacher unions to stand for to ensure that the system of education we have today is not compromised?
Yeah, they have started a process that is very important. They have put on the table the fact that consultation is important. And consultation is very, very important because at all times you are dealing with a system in which there are actors and beneficiaries. Once you think that you only serve the interest of the beneficiaries and that the actors in the system don't matter, that is where you miss the point. And that is where issues keep going wrong and going wrong. And historically, we can go back in the history of reforms in this country, and they have all followed the same line, where the politicians who introduce the reforms become so autocratic that the idea that they think they have are holy and should be absorbed by everybody. That is not the case. All we are asking now is we want a discussion that will enable us to think along with you as to what is the best for those who are actors and those who are beneficiaries. So for me, I'm happy that they are going to go to this meeting, and they must help them to understand. And as I said, the people who are actually going to be worse off are not even the children. As for the children, they love coming together and playing. The people who are going to be worse off are teachers, because they need time to be able to do a lot of things. And as I say, once the children start playing around, that is not the end of the life of a teacher, because there's always a teacher standing by and watching the children with eager eye so that nobody falls, nobody gets hurt, two children don't fight. So the teacher is perpetually busy. So it's important to acknowledge the full dimension of the work of the teacher in this particular situation and ensure that we look at things properly. I believe what we are searching for is a kind of incremental rest that is beneficial to both children and teachers, and more so to teachers, so that they can do their work well in the interest of the children.
Now, Mr. Chagan, before you go, if you can make it brief, under a minute or a minute and a half, what do you think could be the interest government may have in forcing a certain kind of foreign education policy down the throat of Ghanaians, breaking a trimester system to two-semester system, for example, now saying that children are not going to be examined, and so there'll be a common exam program where only class 2, 4, 6, SHS1, no more WASI, SHS3 will be writing university entrance exams, and of course, if you look at the whole thing, they say SHS will now be 6 years instead of how do you call it, the JHS 3 years and 3 years SHS. And our government says that we are going to introduce a new system of education called STEM, where we are going to focus on science and mathematics education. And so we are putting up special schools to identify special children and bring them there. When we have a lot of secondary schools which need infrastructure, a lot of uncompleted projects here and there, what could be the interest government may have, or all of you as a former Director General with all the things you know about education, him representing parents, may not be aware of that government has seen?
Well, again, it's very difficult to really think for the ministers in terms of what they really want to achieve. I can't properly and fully answer that question because they have not even explained to us as Ghanaians why they think a semester system is better than a trimester. That, for me, is the starting point.
They say to take care of truancy, absenteeism among teachers and so on, but they are going to ensure that they meet the same number of instructional hours if they were going to have the trimester system.
What is the basis? Anyway, I don't want to ask you, but again, I hope that the teachers will ask, because you want evidence to be able to support this assertion. Because what they are saying is that they have actually analyzed the levels of this thing. They have no clue what happened at this the free SHS in terms of truancy. If they knew what happened in a number of senior high schools, they will start thinking about, they will rethink their semester and the fact that it checks truancy. It doesn't check truancy.
Okay.
It doesn't check truancy.
Mr. Charles Aheto Chega, you are a former Director General of the Deputy Director General and also acted as Director General of the Ghana Education Service, now a member of GNECC, that's Ghana National Education Campaign Coalition. We are so much grateful for your time and thanks for staying with us. Maybe as you leave us, you can continue to enjoy us by watching TVXYZ in your home while I wrap up with the guest in the studio. Thanks again for your time.
Thank you very much.
I'm so grateful. Now, Charles, back to you. He raises a number of key concerns. He's been as sincere as possible to reflect the views or the mood among those working at the Ghana Education Service, and at the same time sympathizing with teachers who may be bearing the brunt if this policy is pushed down their throat. For you as a parent, for example, we know that several issues have been raised about no textbooks for basic schools for almost 2 years. A new curriculum is being implemented here and there, and there's lack of direction. Is there something you want to do, that you want to say here and follow up on, that will make government listen to you?
Thank you very much. I think that our voice...
Now, before you speak, I'll pick a few calls. We'll try and pick about 5 calls before the end of our program. So the numbers will pop up on the screen, and as many people who can call us quickly within the last 40 minutes or so that we have, we'll pick your calls and hear your views. But you were speaking to what you could do.
Yeah, Well, one of the things that we can do is to come to the media this way and talk to them, because we've been using other ways or methods of reaching them, and it all have fallen on deaf ears. And so we think that now that we have this opportunity, we are telling government that parents are there to collaborate, to support them, to achieve the aim of getting the Ghanaian child as well-educated to be competitive in the world. That is all that parents are looking for. And so we think that institutions like NACA and the rest, for instance, you mentioned, we are part of the private education coalition. We went with them to NACA. At that time that we went, I think it was about 3 months to, now. They had not even had their board. So certain issues that we raised about this book issue, they said they were waiting for the board to be what? Yes.
Inaugurated.
Only, I think, last week or last 2 weeks that we had the Ghana Education Service Council also inaugurated. So all these have led to the delays in the right things that have to be done. But for the books there, I think they are long overdue.
Last week, people started taking on government for the delay in the reopening of public basic schools. Now, would you say that government appears to be running the education sector on ad hoc basis? There's somebody on the line. Let me speak to him and then quickly hear their views. Good evening. Thanks for joining us on TVXYZ Ideas Exchange from Abokobi. What's your name, and make your point quick?
My name is Martin Telia. My only question is that our leaders, their children also attending such schools?
Some may have their children attending public schools. Well, it looks like the line dropped, but there's somebody else on the line. Let me do the quick 5 calls quickly.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah, good evening, sir.
My name is Emmanuel. I'm calling from Enchi, Western North.
How is Enchi?
Oh, by the grace, we are managing, sir.
Okay, make it quick.
Okay. My question is, there's a serious problem with our educational system.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, there is misplaced priority, and the leaders must sit up. That is all that I want to say. Other than that, things will fall apart. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Now, while we are waiting for another call, I would want us to listen to the a serious concern raised by Africa Education Watch. In summary, it says that parents are quick to run to the streets to demonstrate over bad roads, to demonstrate for politicians because an ID card is being printed here and there. But you hardly see parents pouring on the streets because they are not happy about a policy that is being forced on them. Let me speak to this person on the line. Good evening. This is Ideas Exchange on TVXYZ.
Hello.
Please, may I know where you called us from?
I'm calling from Navron Bolga.
Hey, how is Bolga? I'm happy to hear from you.
I'm Olivia.
Olivia, how angry are you this evening?
I'm fine. How is it too?
Good. The question was, are you angry as a Ghanaian parent?
Yes, very angry, and a teacher as well.
Good. And share your views with us.
What I'm saying is that as for what they are saying, we are teachers and we all know what is happening in the ground. But what they are doing, if they want us to help them, at least allow the system, will help them as teachers. We will do it.
Now, if you say...
As they don't see us, we are teachers and we know what is right, they know what is right, we'll help them collapse it on the nation. Thank you.
I think it's a loaded statement, so I'll take it from there. And we are grateful that you also spoke to us. 2 more calls and we'll wrap up on this program with our guest in the studio. Is somebody on the line? Good evening. Good evening, sir. We can hear you. You can speak, sir. Good evening. This is TVXYZ.
Hello.
Yes,
hello.
You can make your point. Where did you call from, sir?
Hello.
Okay, it looks like that line dropped. We have somebody else on the line. Good evening.
Hello. Hello.
Yeah, good evening, Pachoka Samriteu.
Pacho,
But you're doing how ama ubuefu a opesa oka ho asem.
There how many say in Colano almost in Colano future. One. You know that in Colano BB school. See, is almost see and a B school. You have to say almost in Colano 5 months in school. 5 months almost time on almost 5 months and come up with MP. And ministers will not. Yes, super. And it's about traffic. No, then the time on that. You say you need first term, you need second term, you need third term. So I didn't have Bumba continue. You say, oh, yeah, and then. Oh, I didn't pay. I didn't have to do. And curriculum was textbooks or something about it. And Colano, and my, I'm out for the Hebas.
Okay.
No one quite didn't know.
Okay, all right. So I'll take one last call. Last call. I know as many people out there want to speak to us on this program. I have a guest in the studio who has to wrap up. But let me pick this call, and maybe I'll do one top up, and then I come back to the studio. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Make it brief.
Good evening.
Yes, good evening. Where are you calling us from?
I'm from Northeast region, no problem.
Northeast region. Good to hear from you. Make it brief.
Yeah. Yes, I'm from Northeast region. Yes, I'm actually not happy at all. I'm a teacher. How can a child, if those who are policy makers they know why a child cannot stay for up to 5 months or 4 or 5 months in a school?
If a demonstration is called tomorrow that parents should pour out their anger on the streets to stop government from forcing things on their throats, would you join that demonstration?
I'm ever prepared.
Okay, so that reflects an angry parent. Last person on the line, and then we go. But while we are waiting for that call, I wanted to ask this. Students are in school. Some are coming back after. The last one is on the line. Good evening. Make it short. Where did you call us from, sir?
Hello, I'm calling from Achimtafo.
Achimtafo. Pacho Mejidi se bibi aye de.
It's me region.
Pacho Kasamitio.
Hello.
I can hear you speak, sir.
Hello.
Yes, you are live on TVXYZ.
Yes. Hello.
Sir, you can talk. I can hear you.
Yeah. Dr. Nina J, a former headmaster of the Broadway State College.
We are privileged to hear you, sir.
Yeah. You see, what I want to say is that we should all come together as a body, one body, and then look at the whole issue and see how best we can solve that problem or settle everything. It shouldn't be one-sided. I look at it, people are politicizing everything. We should all come together. If we want to make the country good, then we should all come together, sit down on one table, then we discuss the whole issue. It shouldn't be one thing, the government alone, or maybe the NAT alone, the NAGRAT, or let's all come together. Why is that some people want to make it an issue? No, you shouldn't. Some people are talking about sitting down.
I think we get your point, Doc. We are so grateful, most especially because you are speaking in the capacity as a former headmaster, and you share the concerns of your colleagues at the same time. You're speaking to us as a parent, and thank you very much for joining us on TVXYZ today. Right. So you heard a parent. Obviously, all calls coming in appear to be worried. Now, one of the submissions suggested that the PTA is the representative of all those who have an interest in what is going on. And so you need to make another move forward. Africa Education Watch says that you are not being proactive enough. How differently do you want us to see you to be able to put our hopes in the association?
Thank you very much. I think with the issue of the complaint made by African Education Watch, it is in the right direction. However, where I differ a bit is that those who go on the street to demonstrate do not go there in the capacity as parents. They go there in different capacities. You understand? However, what I will appeal to, for us to be able to, engage government very well, or get to government and then make government do exactly what we want, because we put government there, you understand, is that parents must themselves also help their leaders that they have put at the helms of affairs, so that together we can what? We can engage government and then see that
we know
our children
instances,
receive the
we
right
know
kind of
instances
education.
where PTAs are making effort to help schools. So you go to some schools, for example, inadequate beds, the students don't have proper dining hall, the dormitories don't have proper mosquito netting to protect them from bites, the students are suffering from bed bug attacks, and the list is very tall. Now, when parents make effort to levy themselves to support their own wards, to have some at least conducive environment to learn, the GES and the ministry gang up and intimidate the schools by removing the teachers. Some of the teachers have virtually been demoted, so headmistresses are moved here and there. Now, parents become scared about the welfare of these head teachers, and our children are left to suffer. Is this the best? If we were speaking to the Minister for Education, if we were speaking to the Director General of the GES, that's your camera. I want you to speak to the camera and then speak to their conscience if you indeed believe they are doing something that PTAs are not comfortable with.
Okay, thank you very much. I'll start with the Director General and then get to the Minister. Professor, we want to appeal to you as parents that we are not here to sabotage your efforts at ensuring that education, goes on well in this country or becomes successful. So when education goes on well in this country, it is the beneficiary will be our children, and at the end of the day, it is the nation Ghana. So I'm appealing to you that parents want us to collaborate. Therefore, when we come to you, receive us. That is one thing. We wrote to you last year on 2 occasions. We have not yet heard from you. We do not want to come to wash our dirty linens in public. And that is why we are making this appeal to you. We will come again. Honorable Minister, we know that you are making efforts. And these efforts that you are making are laudable. However, we expect that parents who are stakeholders will also be engaged, so that together we are able to implement what all of us seem to see as acceptable to all of us. So, Honorable Minister, we also wrote to you. In fact, you called us, your secretary called us, but at the end of the day, maybe lack of time, you could not. We want to get to you. And then the numerous concerns that our people at the grassroots have shared with us, we want to share with you so that you can factor them into your policies.
So before we wrap up on this program, I've put together a few quotations. These quotations are coming from Baskin Africa, which has raised concerns about the level of education today and what we are practicing. We have Reverend John Intim Fojo, who is the Deputy Minister for Education. We have Nat Nagra CCT Ghana, and Tewu statement, and of course something the NAC General Secretary has been saying. It comes in this package. Just listen. After that, we wrap up. What you were actually watching was that of the statement by the Ghana Education Service, but we have a packaged one that talks about presentations by the various associations and the statements they made. If my producers will help us, we'll share it with you right now, and then we'll wrap up on the program. I'm told it's not there. So that's how we bring the curtains down on tonight's program. The topic was education sector policy controversies, the take from the PTAs, who spoke to Charles Ajetesowa, who is the Administrator, National Council of PTAs, and of course we're joined online by former Deputy Director of the Ghana Education Service, Mr. Charles Aheto Cheka. And of course, many of you parents have also spoken. The summary of it all is that you are not happy about how the system is being run, especially with new policies that are being forced down the throat. Now, the National Council of PTAs has summarized it all, that they are ready to give government all the support. Parents are not happy. They know government cannot do it all. Yes, free SHS and all the policies they want to implement at the basic level, and of course the tertiary level, which we didn't get time to speak to. They are saying that if government decides to do things on its own, our system of education today, as we see, may crash. The ditch may be such that it will take years to replace. Thank you again. My name is Eric Ahianyo. This program, join us tomorrow between 1 and 2 p.m. for a repeat. And of course, call your friends to join us as well. Good night, and thanks to all my producers, all those behind the cameras, and those at the MCR, and of course, those who work behind the scenes to make this program successful.
Sorry.